Hi everyone, it's Tracey here, and welcome to my garden again. Okay, so what we're going to do today, we're going to plant up a little trug here that's got some herbs. Basically, I've just been looking around the garden and finding some bits and pieces that I had already that were just sort of this parsley that was overwintered from last year, so that's fine. And also I found some chives here that had self-seeded into another pot, so I've rescued those, and some mints as well. So this is going to be a little shade loving trug actually, which we can put. These plants can tolerate quite a little bit of shade, so because not everybody has a sunny windowsill. So what we're going to do with, first of all, we're going to just put some broken bits of pots in the bottom, in the drainage holes. So you have drainage holes in the bottom of the pot just to stop all the soil and all the water just pouring straight out. So we've got 4 viewers, so hi everyone, give me a wave if you're watching. Hi. So we take some compost and we'll just add this to the bottom of the window box. There we are. So you want to put that probably about half full there. So if I could just tip that so you can just see that there. So we'll plant the parsley up one end. We've got quite a lot here actually, so we probably won't need all that. We'll just put half of the parsley in, just in that corner there. And now we're going to plant the chives, and we'll put those in the middle because they grow up quite tall. They get to about this height, so we'll pop those into the middle there. There we go. And finally, we've got the mint here. So this is a chocolate mint. It's a little bit that I had left over. It was in a big pot, so I managed to pull some of that out. Yeah, it's cold, Clive. Clive's saying it looks cold. It is quite chilly today out here. So we'll pop that in. I might just need a little bit more compost there just to lift that up. Well, that's good. Someone was mowing their lawn or trimming their hedge with hedge trimmer, so it's quite noisy. So hope you can hear me okay. Then what we do with the compost, we'll just fill in around the sides here. Pop that down. A little bit more. There we go. We want to pop that all the way around the side there. And to the back. A little bit more in that corner. Okay. And then we just firm that down, push that down. Don't put your compost too far at the top. Leave about an inch, because when you water, all the compost will just come off the top. So you want to have a little space for the water there. And then we could just give that a little tap, firm that in, and there you go. And that should all fill out, and that can then be put on a windowsill. As I say, that can go. Really, it's probably best to go outside if you can, but it will do well okay inside. But so that's our herb. That's our little herb trug there from just plants that have been, found around the gardens. This is what we're trying to do actually, is like look at things that don't cost any money, things that you can recycle, where you can make plants from existing things. And what I'll do with that, I'll water that. I'll move it to where it's going to go and give that a little water. I won't do it on here, otherwise I'll be in a real sort of muddy mess on the potting bench. So that can just go to one side. And the other thing with herbs as well, you often get these herbs from supermarkets, and they after a while they go a little bit limp, or they go a little bit, they lose their colour. basically what the reason is, the supermarkets put too many seeds in, so then the compost has used up all its goodness. So what you can do with these, you can split them up, and then you can grow more plants. So you can actually get probably quite a few plants out of a little supermarket herb pot like that. So if we get some little pots. So is there anyone else saying hello? Oh, Matt says he puts newspaper in the bottom of his pots, but not sure. Oh, but yeah, no, that's good. You can do that. It's great. So they've got a little pot here, and we're going to fill this up with soil, compost. And if we take the supermarket pots, just tip those over like that, then you can see how many, if I can get a bit closer, you can actually see how many different plants are in there. So I would probably put 1 or 2 in there. We'll put 2. So we'll just carefully pull that apart. And again with these ones. And if we have 1 in one corner and 1 in the other corner, and just top that up with a bit more compost. We have 11 viewers. Hey. And there you go. So you could do that with all of those actually, and you'd end up with quite a nice lot of basil here, which is be really good. Just do 1 more, and then we'll go on to something else. Let's pop that in there for a moment. So yeah, fill this up with compost. I mean, compost might be quite scarce at the moment, so if you've got any old bedding or any pots like that you've got some compost in, that's really good for growing seeds in, because it's used up all its nutrients, and actually seeds don't need a very nutritious soil, so that's quite a sort of money saving tip as well. Okay, so we'll just pull this one apart, pop that one in. Where they've gone quite leggy, like look, that means like they've grown too long, the stems have grown too long, you can actually cover some of the stems as well with the soil, with the compost. Oh, Marie's just got in from tidying her garden. So yeah, it's quite chilly today, Marie, isn't it? But it was sunny this morning, but hopefully things are going to start warming up. It's nice to hear from everybody. There we are. And so that's 2 little pots of basil, which they will soon bunch out. And when you want to use them for cooking, if you just snip the tops off, you can use those for your cooking, and then the rest will just bunch out eventually. They will need to go on a sunny windowsill. They like a little bit of heat. So, but once the weather does warm up, sort of from about May onwards, they can go out in the garden as well. Okay, so looking at some other bits and pieces that we can do, like I've found a couple of pots here. So just sort of looks like a few bits and pieces of self-seeded in here, but what you can see if you look closely at these ones, they're actually foxgloves. So they've self-seeded in this pot, which is a little patio rose. So to take those out, just use an old kitchen fork, and you can prise those out like this very gently, making sure you don't disturb the roots too much. Whoop. There you go. So yeah, try and get as much out without taking destroying too many of the roots. So this is a little miniature foxglove plant there, and this can actually be put straight into the garden, so you could plant that straight into wherever you wanted to put that in the garden, and that should flower this year, because that's seeded. The seeds were sown last about June time. They're just self-seeded from the flowers, and they should flower this year. So we can pop that in the garden a little bit later. And there's another one here as well, we can take that one out. This is the sort of thing you can do inside as well, so if it's a bit chilly you can sit inside and do this. Any more messages? Georgina, looks easier than I thought. Oh yeah. What, the herb box looks easier, or the supermarket herbs? There we go. So there's another one there, and you could just take off some of these old leaves around the edge, and then you cut the rosette with a nice foxglove to go in the garden. Make sure when you put them in though you water them well, and they should, as I say, flower this year. So that's that. And there's another old pot I found lurking in the garden, and as you can see, well, these are actually some chives as well, so you could take those out and repot those. And also very close in here, if you can just see, we've got a tiny little Alchemilla mollis, so that's self-seeded in there. And again, you could just use your trusty old, make sure it's an old kitchen fork, and you can pull that out, and this can be planted into a pot, and then you could leave it somewhere in the corner of the garden. Make sure you water it. When that fills out a bit more, that can go in the garden as well. Okay, any questions? The supermarket herbs, oh right. Yeah, I think everyone does that. I think people just think, oh well, you know, they've gone, but it's because they cram so many seeds in the pot. When you split them up, if you split them up as soon as you get them, they have a better chance of, but I've had these ones on the kitchen windowsill for a while. So we're going to plant this little Alchemilla. We'll plant that up, and then we'll put that in the corner, and hopefully that should bulk up, and it'll be quite a nice garden plant. See how we're doing for time. Okay, let's move this one out of the way. So you want to just make a little hole in the middle of the compost, pop the plants in, all the roots, make sure you tuck all those in and firm that down. Again, we want to water this in once you've found a place for it, and you should have another plant there. So yeah, it's quite good actually. It's surprising what you can find in your own garden, or you know, just you can get plants for free. And the other thing you can do now, this time of the year, is you can divide perennials. So perennials are plants that come up every year. This one is a Rebecca. Now this has been in the pot. I bought them last year and didn't get round to planting them. So if I take this out, give it a squeeze, you can see just how really like tight the roots are on there. So what you can do with this, you can actually divide this, and you could probably, this one you could probably do it into 4, so you could quarter that, and then you would have 4 separate plants. You would need, because it's really root bound, you would probably need like an old serrated kitchen knife to get through that. But yeah, that would give you then 4 plants for the price of 1, and then that can go straight out in the garden. And these Rebecca's, they're really lovely. They're like a sunflower, and they come up every year. Really sunny and bright and cheerful, and yeah, they can just go in the garden, and then you'll have them sort of late summer. They're late summer flowering plants. Yeah, so anything else? Oh, what is that tree behind you? Oh yeah, it's an old cherry tree that's I think it's one of the only other tree apart from the apple tree that we inherited with the garden. It's got like a yellow, I think it's a Merryweather, I think that's what it's called. So it's a yellow like plum like cherry type thing, which yeah, it's okay. You can eat them. You can make them into jam. So when they come, Matt, I'll perhaps I'll make some jam out of them. Okay. So any more questions before I leave you? And so I'll be back again next week. So we'll look at doing some other bits and pieces. Obviously, it all depends on what the weather's like. Oh, my dog, yeah, well, I wore him out this morning. I took him out for a long walk, Clive, and he's fast asleep. I'll bring him out next time and let everybody see him. Okay, right, so I'm going to go now and water these plants, put them where they need to go, and see you all next week. Okay, see you, bye.